As you guys already know, I obtained the Fallout 4 Platinum Trophy about a year ago. But as I'm hyped for Fallout Season 2 to drop in a few days, today I couldn't help myself but 100% Far Harbor for its trophies. This will be a shorter video, but regardless of that, come join me on this seafaring adventure filled with booty. So, we start off where I left after my Platinum journey, in Sanctuary Hills. I get my bearings and select the Far Harbor quest Far From Home within my Pip-Boy. This leads me to Diamond City, into the midst of Nick's Valentine Detective Agency to meet Ellie.
I'll go check it out. Thanks, Ellie.
Here, I'm told to travel to Nakano's residence, in which I fast travel to the closest location. Of course, I familiarise myself with combat after such a long time from the Fallout series. And once arrived, speak to Kenji Nakano. He informs me of his missing daughter, and after a little investigative work, this leads me to boarding Kenji's ship to Far Harbor. Arriving, it low-key reminds me of like if Birmingham ever had a port. Joking, don't kill me, fellow Brummies out there. Captain Avery questions the purpose of our journey, though we are interrupted by gulpers that swarm the town. We survived the attack. Avery tells me of Old Longfellow, a guide who will show me the way to Arcadia to find Katsumi. At the last plank, we find the geezer and convince him to guide us through the fog in one piece.
Captain Avery said you can get me to Arcadia?
I also pick up one of the magazines for Islanders Almanac, more on that later.
Bingo.
Through the fog, we get attacked by trappers, or raiders as I like to call them. I level up and tackle feral ghouls and more Milux fighting gulpers, a unique type of enemy, one which will help me on my goal of defeating 30 sea creatures for the trophy Hooked. Also, more on that later. Just shy of Arcadia, we come across a child of Atom talking something about the nucleus. And then we arrive at our said destination. Here, I ask Longfellow to join me as he knows the land better than most and send Piper back to Sanctuary Hills. We enter and speak to DiMa, who tells me where Katsumi is located, and we find her down on the lowest level. He mentions that she believes herself to be a synth but refuses to leave because she suspects something much bigger is occurring in Far Harbor. She has suspicions that DiMa is hiding something, so I pick her lock.
Got it.
I'm learning that trick myself.
And eavesdrop on his discussion with Faraday. I confront him afterwards and he mentions of his memories stored away in the nucleus occupied by the children of Atom, and thus I return to Katsumi with the news and a new objective. The next quest best left forgotten was a real ball ache, but an interesting ball ache to say the least. First we need to get there, so after defeating a few stunted Yaoguai and pesky trappers, I arrive at the nucleus base. I speak to Richter, who sends me on the awakening ritual to drink from the spring a little way from here. I go and do as instructed and have the wildest trip from a dodgy spring one can have. I follow an apparition to the Atom Shrine and spend way too long trying to solve this puzzle.
There must be some clue around here.
I give up and look it up to find it is on the periodic table. What am I like, mate? I retrieve the carved doll and return to Richter, who initiated me into the fold. With this entry, I beeline it to DiMa's terminal after dying to turrets, venturing past laser beams and the many deaths from the legendary Assaultrons. Let's not bring that one back up. Oh, for fuck's sake. Once in the mainframe, it gives us a pretty sick minigame, a combination of tower defense meets Minecraft. And after clearing the first one, and the next one, and the next one, it did my nut in, mate, like seriously. Jesus, that took forever, mate. By the time I arrived at the last one, I spent longer than all past modes combined. To top it all off, I fucked till up at the end as well, mind you. Resorted to another Google search in which I found this glitchy workaround thanks to this dude here. Can't believe this shit isn't patched. I agree, my dude. I ventured to Vim's Pop Factory to uncover DiMa's secret medical facility and begin to clear the place out of super mutants. Here I find a dope power armor that gives off Space Marine vibes. And obtain DiMa's holotape. On my way out, I'm met against a random behemoth. I return to Arcadia to inform Katsumi of my findings before telling DiMa. Here, the Reformation quest starts in the aspiration of retrieving Martin's holotape to convince Tectus to leave Far Harbor, though this is the crucial questline which gave me the option in resolving the island's current power struggle. This random thing happened when I face off against a trapper along the way. I get stuck trying to loot my luck and make my way to meet Tectus in the nucleus in the vessel to convey him the message. He tells me to meet him away from his fold and I convince him to depart for the greater good of Far Harbor.
DiMa, leave?
I return and see him speaking to DiMa, and then I convey the news to Katsumi, who are convinced to return to her
Maybe
parents.
I'll see you back in the Commonwealth?
With that said and done, we return to the Commonwealth and conclude the quest at Nakano's residence. However, at this point the DLC's main story finished, and having gotten the peaceful ending, we're not done yet. First, I return to Sanctuary Hills to declutter my inventory and inform Ellie of the news.
Don't be a stranger, Gumshoe.
I then return to Far Harbor in search for those almanac magazines. After finding my second magazine in Arcadia and then my third in the National Park Visitors Center, it enabled me to craft Far Harbor recipes in which I cooked me up something grim. A little bit later, I found all the almanac magazines after finding the fourth in the Northwood Ridge Quarry.
Excellent.
And then fighting this Mylok dude, which was pretty tough, and then randomly a queen appeared. The last one was at Brookhead's lighthouse, overrun by trappers. No surprise there.
Yes.
This one came along naturally from exploring the DLC's islands of 40 or so locations. Easy. But this next one took a little bit longer. As I had completed the main questline, it was almost as if it had become bugged. Longfellow's cabin was unlocked by default for whatever reason, so I backtracked my way through most of the Far Harbor citizen quests, unlocking Dalton's farm and my last one for helping Mitch search for his Uncle Ken, though I didn't have to fend off the trappers for some reason. Strange. Now, it wouldn't be an adventure without one huge trophy breaking glitch, and cleansing the land was that very one. Maybe I was just being dumb, or maybe even a little special. But apparently, it was meant to pop after I finished the close to home questline a good while ago. However, I achieved the best outcome by saving everyone and preventing nuclear destruction, so I was hella confused why it didn't work. But no, me being me, I scourged Google once again, and apparently the questline bugs out if you do not collect the launch codes from the Grand Hotel. And thus, I reloaded from an earlier save and did the whole thing again, however with a much more sinister ending. Turning to my original save, I continue in my defeat of 30 Far Harbor sea creatures for the trophy Hooked. And so, with all the trophies done, the mission of a 100% achieved, I return to the Commonwealth and then back to Sanctuary at the turn of night for a cheeky brew. However, if you've just put the kettle on and are still wanting more, maybe check out this video next.